So here's a huge question for any country. How do you make sure you have a steady stream of world-class scientists for the future? Well, today we're going to dive into some source material that looks at a pretty big challenge India's been facing and a really bold, kind of radical experiment they came up with to solve it. All right, let's get right into it. We're starting with a bit of a puzzle. You see, India has this incredible history of scientific achievement. I mean, we're talking Nobel laureates in fundamental science. But then, in the last few decades, something changed. The path started to look a little different, and that created a big question mark for the future of innovation.
So what happened? Well, the country's best and brightest students, they started heading for professional degrees, engineering, medicine at these world-famous institutes. And look, that's absolutely vital work, of course. But the side effect was a kind of brain drain away from fundamental research, the pure science that really lays the groundwork for all the big breakthroughs down the road.
So, what do you do about a problem like that? How do you reverse a national brain drain away from science? Well, the Indian government's solution was pretty radical. They decided to create a whole new type of institution, designed from the ground up with just one single goal in mind: get the nation's brightest kids excited about and focused on making the big discoveries of tomorrow.
And these new institutions are called IISERS. Now, these weren't just another set of universities. Nope. The whole idea was to build these incredible hubs of excellence, completely focused on one thing: nurturing the next generation of pure scientists.
And this quote really just sums it all up, doesn't it? Engineering and medicine are for today, and science is for tomorrow. The thinking here is simple but powerful. If your best minds only go into today's professions, who's building the foundation for tomorrow's technology? Who's making the discoveries that will lead to the medicine of the future? It's all about investing in the day after tomorrow.
Okay, so you're probably wondering what really makes an ISIR so different from a regular university. Well, according to the source material, the secret sauce comes down to two key things: the people they get in the door and the amazing environment they build around them. First up, the people. We're talking about incredibly high-caliber faculty, folks with serious research experience from all over the world. And then you bring in the students, the absolute cream of the crop. These are kids who are not only super motivated, but they're often in the top 1% on their board exams, and they have to get through these really tough national screening tests to even get a spot.
But really, it's the environment where things get interesting. This is not your typical university experience. It's not just about sitting in a classroom. The idea is to completely immerse students in this whole ecosystem of state-of-the-art labs. They're backed by national scholarships so they can focus, and they are put right in the middle of where cutting-edge research is actually happening. And this right here, this is the real game changer. Think about it. In the IISER model, that long chain of information gets cut way, way down. The actual scientists who are making the discoveries, they're the ones teaching the classes. That direct connection completely flips the script on learning. It goes from just passively listening to someone talk to actively being a part of the scientific process itself.
But, and there's always a but, isn't there? A new problem starts to pop up. For these amazing institutes to really have a national impact, you'd think these opportunities would need to be available everywhere, right? For everyone. Well, when you actually look at a map of where they are, that's not exactly what you find.
Let's zoom out for a second. When you look at where all of India's top-tier institutes are located, the IITs for tech, the IIMs for business, a pretty glaring pattern starts to emerge. There's a big geographic imbalance, and one specific part of the country seems to have been almost completely overlooked.
And this table from the source material really lays it all out in black and white. Just look at the numbers. Across the 8 states of Northeast India, you've got just one IIT, one IIM, and then the critical part, when it comes to these science superhubs, the IISERs, a big fat zero. None.
What you're left with is basically a vacuum, a complete void of these science superhubs in an entire region of the country. And this is a region that, by all accounts, is just full of untapped, hidden talent. But there's no dedicated top-level institute there to nurture it. And this is where we get to the absolute heart of the source material's argument. It makes a very specific, and I think you'll find a pretty compelling case for where the next ISR should go, right in the northeastern state of Manipur, to fill that huge critical gap. So, why Manipur specifically? Well, the argument really starts with the raw potential. It's just widely known that the region has this deep well of untapped talent, especially when it comes to the physical sciences, things like math and physics. And then there's the economic cost of not having an institute like this.
And honestly, it's staggering. Think about this. With no local top-tier option, families have to send their kids elsewhere for higher education. The result? An estimated 40%, that's 40, of the state's entire economy flows out to other places. That is a massive, massive drain on capital year after year.
But it's not just about the money. There's a real human cost too. We're talking about the region's sharpest scientific minds, having literally no other choice but to pack up and leave if they want a career. The source document even lists a whole bunch of examples of these brilliant scientists now working all over the world. It's the absolute textbook definition of brain drain.
Now, what's really interesting is that there was actually a plan to fix this problem. An IISER was announced for a neighboring state way back in 2015, but it just never happened. It never got off the ground. And the source material argues that this failed attempt actually creates the perfect opening for a state like Manipur, with all its proven scientific talent, to step up and finally fill that void.
So the idea here isn't just about building a school. It's not just about bricks and mortar. The argument in the source material is much bigger than that. It frames an IISER in Manipur as a kind of catalyst, something that could spark a massive, multi-layered transformation for the entire region.
You can think of it like a ripple effect, and it's pretty powerful when you break it down. Step 1, you instantly uplift the level of science education for the whole region. That then creates a hub that can start pulling those brilliant scientists back home. Then, of course, you create jobs, not just for professors, but for everyone. And finally, all of this helps build an economy that can actually keep that 40% of money right there, in the state where it belongs.
So, when you boil it all down, the key takeaway here isn't just about one region. The core argument is that this is a national issue. Investing in the scientific future of the Northeast isn't just good for the Northeast, it's a strategic investment in strengthening the entire country's pipeline of innovation for decades to come.
So it all comes back to that big question. Could one single institute truly change the future of an entire region? Well, the argument we've unpacked today says absolutely yes. That this one strategic investment could be the key that finally unlocks decades of hidden potential, not just for a single state, but for the whole nation.